And welcome to the Sports Shelf. I am Flying Ryan Gilchrist along with.
Tampa Motor Mouth Joel Verlin, who is definitely thankful to have heat once again. Yeesh.
Yeah, a little bit of a cold snap here in Florida. I loved it, but most people down here don't.
Yeah.
And even if you didn't like the cold weather, you're having a better week than one Von Miller. Whew, the Bills just continue to implode. And as a Dolphins fan, I am here for it.
The Bills just can't seem to get a break one way on the field or off the field.
No, Von Miller arrested. He had a warrant out for his arrest. He has reported and posted bond for a domestic violence issue in Texas, which you might be thinking, but doesn't he play for Buffalo? Yeah, I don't know how that happened either, but it did. And yeah, we'll see what happens with disciplinary stuff going on beyond that. He hasn't been a big factor for the Buffalo Bills this year, anyways. For a 6-6 team, it's not helpful to have someone miss some time, but
Yeah,
yeah, it looks like he's gonna.
and from the crazy news, two crazy news stories for the NFL. One, I actually saw a headline apparently where Machine Gun Kelly apparently offered Travis Kelsey $500,000 to go to the Browns.
I think he could get more than that on the open market. So good luck with that.
And even crazier, apparently there's a via Sports Illustrated insider, Hondo Carpenter, there's a name. Las Vegas Raiders owner Mark Davis, quote, would love to bring John Gruden back, unquote, as head coach, depending on the result of the lawsuit he has against the NFL.
Well, the thing is, it came from Sports Illustrated. So whether it's a real story or is that a fake AI generated story, that is a question we'll have to find out. Because if it's fake AI generated,
We
you
leave,
obviously can't
we
trust
leave,
it.
we live in the era of Chat GPT.
Yeah, it's a sad, sad world. Speaking of sad, sad world, we're going to talk about week number 12 and all of the wonderful games that started with almost a half hour of no touchdowns on Sunday and the worst Monday night football game, nay, possibly the worst full televised national game that ever was played on one
Yeah,
Monday night.
you're waiting for all them golden fantasy points to come rolling in, and you're waiting, and you're waiting.
If you didn't have DJ Moore or TJ Hawkinson very, very late in that game, you were very disappointed. Another note, I got to find what was moved. The NFL has officially done for the first time a flexing
A a
of the
a,
Monday Nighter.
a blessing moving away the Chiefs and Patriots because nobody wants to watch the Patriots on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, Chiefs Patriots gone. I'm trying to find the game they replaced with. I know it's Philadelphia. Um,
Eagles and
because Philly has
Seattle.
3 straight weeks. Philly Seattle, that's right. Philly Seattle is taking its place, and we have Seattle tonight, so that may or may not be a good thing. But all 23 out of the 26 games on Sunday or Monday Night Football so far this season have hit the under. So yeah, plan accordingly. Bet your unders. Anyways,
Yeah,
the big weird, not unexpected, but absolutely crazy news is Aaron Rodgers back at practice
yes,
this
the
week.
practice window has been opened, and they must be crazy.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to matter. I think the Jets lose the next two at least. He's possibly going to try and come back for that Miami game, which would be the third game. That's why I didn't say the next three at least. But if they lose the next two, they're 4-9.
Just,
I think they'd be fools to let him see the field.
just sit out the rest of the year, chill, enjoy the time off, then come back next year, hopefully lasting longer.
Yeah, the Jets win the next two and then have against Miami a game that has possible consequence because they're back to 6-7. Okay, maybe. But if you're 4-9 facing a team that's playing for the one seed, because Miami at 8-3, they're going to play Washington this week coming up. So they very well could be 9-3, 3 games clear in that division. They're focused on the top seed in the conference to bring back a player like Aaron Rodgers, who is not the most mobile guy at his age, anyways, on a bad Achilles. I think you're just asking for some problems. Tim Boyle's not great. Zach Wilson is worse, but I think you just don't want to ruin 2024 while 2023 is still going on. That's my personal opinion. I am wearing the Rodgers jersey from his time in Green Bay. Happy to see him back on the field, of course, but do not want to see him down injured once again. So just a lot of risk if he comes back early. Oh, let's see. Anything crazy from the news? Browning for the Bengals has a wrist injury. He did practice in full today, but after Joe Burrow, you kind of have the flashbacks a little bit. No practice for Keenan Allen the second straight days. I'm not too concerned about that yet. Mari Cooper back in practice today. Myles Garrett did not practice, as well as Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who got absolutely blown up in his game.
Wacko for Flacco could soon be trending once again, kids.
I think it will be. Deontay Johnson missing practice today with an illness. Nothing to be concerned with there.
Yeah, with Deontay Johnson, it seems there was a little bit of a drama with the fumble and not exactly what you would call a great effort on his part to retrieve said fumble. So
yeah, he was disengaged on a running play, not paying attention. I don't even think he ever noticed it was a fumble.
So a lot of people are now saying that he is the latest in a long line of diva wide receivers for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he even got into it with a teammate in the locker room.
Yeah, he did. He got into it with Minkah Fitzpatrick, who should be back from injury this week. Of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers without Matt Canada looked much better on offense. We'll get to the game in a little bit. Chris Godwin added to the injury report with a neck injury. Not something you want to see on a Thursday, but not a surprise. We will get in and outs for tonight's game here shortly if they haven't already come back through. And that's the biggest news so far today. Right on schedule. Cowboys and Actives.
My Bucks are somehow still alive for the playoffs, amazingly enough.
Yeah, that whole division is trash. Only fantasy relevant player for the Cowboys and Active is one Deuce Vaughn. And I don't think the Seahawks have theirs out, but don't expect to see Kenneth Walker out there tonight. All right, we're going to go quickly. There's Seattle. Yeah, Kenneth Walker is officially inactive. It's like I know it's coming right
this week will give us a bit of a break because of the mini Bimageddon.
Yeah, we'll get our picks later, but we won't go over the Thanksgiving and Black Friday games in great detail. Just quickly, the scores. Packers 29-22 over the Lions. Dallas dismantling Washington 45-10. Cowboys have yet to win against a team even close to 500 this year. They play Seattle tonight, who is 6-5, though. The 49ers dismantle the Seahawks 31-13, and the Dolphins, with the first ever Hail Mary pick six, beat the Jets 34-13. And then we get to the day that was Sunday, a day full of
for the Dolphins and Jets. I have ups Dolphins DST for the Hail Mary and a down. Don't ever change Jets, and thank you for highlights everywhere.
Yeah, the Jets look real bad. That's another reason not to bring Aaron Rodgers back. That offensive line is putrid. He's going to get murdered. And he's either gonna have to just duck and take sacks before he gets touched, or he's gonna risk injury. Anyways, to Sunday, where the New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons played football for first place in the NFC South. The Falcons get the win 24-15. Both teams exit 5-6. And by virtue of the tiebreaker, the Falcons are first place at 5-6 in the NFC South. Bijan Robinson finally starting to come alive. Chris Olave was having one of his best games of the season before leaving this one with a concussion. And he was not the only one, as Rashid Shaheed left this game as well. Juwan Johnson left for a period of time. Michael Thomas already on IR. So the Saints wide receivers and tight ends got dinged up a little bit. Olave was practicing in some drills, not contact, yesterday. So a good sign he might be available for the Saints coming up this weekend. And of course, Juwan Johnson and Taysom Hill will be options if they are not able to play.
For this game, I'm just having pretty much for most one up and one down. Other than I think the Monday game I have two or three. But for this one, the up definitely has to be Bijan Robinson to channel the rock. Finally, Bijan has come back to Atlanta, and Derek Carr. Just got to be honest, his wide receiver room was shattered beyond all known recognition. Olave exits a potential season scoring high day. And who the hell does he have to throw to? Next week will be very fun. Not when you're listening to all the fantasy shows and you're talking about, okay, everyone go pick up Perry. And the one quote you can think of from Homer Simpson is, I have no idea who that is.
Yeah, A.T. Perry's a 5th-round rookie wide receiver who has not gotten very heavily involved. Could also go for Lynn Bowden Jr., a former Dolphin draft pick from about 3 or 4 years ago. Also hasn't gotten his footing. Hopefully Olave will be there. Taysom Hill, Juwan Johnson, A.T. Perry, and Alvin Kamara will be your top 5. And then you'll get some contributions elsewhere.
That's going to be a fugly game for the Saints.
Yeah. Speaking of fugly games, the Steelers have been fugly all season long, but for the first time in 59 games, they crossed the 400-yard threshold against the Cincinnati Bengals. Win this one 16-10. Still low scoring, still ugly football, but the Steelers' offense looked miles ahead of where it did under Matt Canada. Najee Harris looks better. Jaylen Warren looks better. Yeah, there's the issue with Deontay Johnson, but he had a decent game in this game again. Pat Freiermuth, 120 yards in this game when he had 60 coming into the week total on the season. The Steelers offense, I think it's going to get better as time goes on. The Bengals, though, with Browning at quarterback, it's going to be real bad. They're not leaning on the run game enough to help him out. And 2 of the biggest catches in this game were on tip passes Jamar Chase just happened to come down with. The Bengals are done for this season, but the Steelers 7-4. Mike Tomlin's no losing season streak looks almost guaranteed to continue.
And yeah, definite up from this game has to be, you already mentioned him, Pat Freiermuth, as in his second game back from injured reserve. Freiermuth saw a much more significant role with a 68% route participation and a team leading 35% target share against the Bengals. We should call them the Bungles recently. He delivered his best fantasy outing of the day with 21 freaking fantasy points. If you started him, you probably loved him this week. My downs, yeah, Joe Mixon, he could only muster, get this, 18 yards on the ground, and 65% of that came on one play. Going forward, really, Jamar Chase seems to be the only usable asset for the Bengals.
If the Bengals are smart, they only gave Joe Mixon 8 carries. They will force feed him the ball a lot more to try and free up the passing game. Of course, T. Higgins is expected to be playing on Monday night, so that could help them quite a bit. But it's bad for Cincinnati right now. It really is. Speaking of Monday night, they're playing the Jaguars, and the Jaguars take the win over Houston on a last-second 58-yard doink off the crossbar by Amendola of the Houston Texans. The Jaguars win 24-21, and with that, they take a 2-game lead over the Houston Texans by literally inches. As the Jaguars are 8-3, they've got the AFC South right in the palm of their hand. The Texans 6-5. Fall back, but still deeply in that wild card race, and have a big game against red hot Denver coming up next week.
Yeah, up this game definitely has to be Calvin Ridley. This is the Ridley that you drafted finally. Only took to Thanksgiving? Yeah, boy. As because it wasn't only him, but also Christian Kirk. But it was nice to see both wide receivers doing their thing. Down would be rushing in this game. Just sort of, like the dude looking around the empty room, kind of going back and forth. Just not good. And yeah, you definitely have to mention the refs. There's some of the awful calls that you're just going, okay, why was that a penalty?
Yeah, refs this week, not great. Next up, sadly, the best game of the early window. Indianapolis wins 27-20 over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, moving to 6-5. Big news out of Indianapolis following this game is a thumb injury to Jonathan Taylor, going to require a minor surgery. Expected to miss the next 2 or 3 weeks as of right now. So if you have him, like I do in a lot of places, hopefully you've already clinched your playoff spot. And if you have a bye, you can get a bye, because if he's not back to week 16, you're going to have to go through the first week of the playoffs without him on your roster. But hopefully he'll be back in 2 weeks in time for the fantasy football playoffs. The Colts, they're not worried about that. Michael Pittman, a nice big game. Mike Evans, 2 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield has looked so much better than Joel expected when we were talking in the offseason. He expected it to be real bad. But Chris Godwin's still not heavily involved. So the Buccaneers, though, have lost, 6 of the last 7? It's been tough. But the Buccaneers at 4-7, only 1 game back of first place Atlanta/New Orleans at 5-6. So plenty of time for them to still make their run. The Colts 6-5, again, in that log jam in the AFC at 6-5.
Yeah, Bucks won't have to worry about the Panthers. Now, watch. I said this, they're going to lose the Panthers this week, right, boys? But up for this game definitely has to be Mike Evans now with over 90 career touchdowns, with 70 yards and 2 TDs on the day. Just a solid super stud for 2023. Not as much of a super stud, and definitely has let you down most of the time. Yeah, that would be Chris Godwin. Now has had 2 games of his last 4, 3 or fewer receptions, bringing in less than half of his targets. Definitely have to be concerned.
Yeah, a real chance the entire NFC South, but not named the Carolina Panthers, is 5-7 the next week. Atlanta, New Orleans, tough matchups, and Tampa Bay, as you just mentioned, with Carolina. All right. I don't even want to talk about the next 2 games, so we're going to go very quickly. Patriots-Giants was a turd. Giants win 10-7 in one of the worst football games that's ever existed. Joel, thoughts?
Yeah, just pretty much Ramondre Stevenson, pretty much the heart and soul of the Patriots offense, such as it was. Yeah, down. Saquon Barkley, 12 carries is underwhelming and low scoring in a low scoring battle, and very little involvement in the passing game. So definitely let you down.
Bailey Zappi expected to be the starter in week number 13 for the New England Patriots. I have a super flex league where I am losing Josh Allen this week. I am very much considering playing either Greg Dortch, Khalif Raymond, or Bailey Zappi in my flex spot. I'm not kidding. I'm not sure if he's even going to hit the lineup. It's been that bad for New England, but maybe New England against the Chargers get something going.
One call I actually heard somebody was trying to trade Saquon Barkley for Jonathan Taylor, and they didn't recommend that he do that.
Yeah, sometimes those trades don't work out how you think. Next up, the Titans, who scored the first touchdown on Sunday, 29 minutes after 1 o'clock, was Derrick Henry. Beat the Carolina Panthers 17-10. Derrick Henry, a great game, but outside of that, nothing to hear about here. Chuba Hubbard, I guess, was decent for the Panthers, but the Panthers fall to 1-10. Titans 4-7. Both teams looking forward to the offseason.
Up for this game definitely has to be return of King Henry for at least 1 game. Thank you, Panthers DST, for being as awful as you are. And down, of course, fantasy managers everywhere. It was good while it lasted. Adam Thielen is his only catch against one of the league's worst pass defenses came in the second quarter. He was invisible. Might have a better matchup against the Bucks this week.
Possibly. We'll see. He's kind of disappeared, and at 33, is it over? It might be over. Next up, Kyren Williams is the real deal as the Rams dominate the Cardinals 37-14 in a game that wasn't that close. Kyren Williams, 2 touchdowns, over 200 yards, was the star of the week, the leading scorer at running back. And the Cardinals, though, very disappointing offensive output in this game. James Conner was a non-factor. Kyler Murray looked terrible for the first real times as he came back. Matthew Stafford, 4 touchdown passes, and Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp had crap games. That's how good the Rams were. They were winning with Gerald Everett, Kyren Williams, and even Royce Freeman got heavily involved in this game.
Yeah, up for this game definitely has to be Kyren Williams. He handled 16 rushing attempts and 6 targets in his first game since week 6. The 22 opportunities were second highest of the season, and he delivered a season-high 38.4, so weak fantasy points. Only CMC 24.6 averages more than Williams' 21.4 points per game in 2023. Of course, the down, if you drafted him in the first round like I did, Cooper Kupp. He looked like a very different version of himself. Compared to the prior 2 seasons, the ankle may be a significant issue. If it's not, then his age is. He has had maybe, 2 good games this season?
Yeah, the injury was a problem, and now he's got another little ankle injury. It's not as severe as the first one, so I don't know if he's not fully healthy. I don't know if maybe this offense, everybody's focusing on him. That's why Puka's having a great season, but they have a running game now, and maybe that frees things up. The Cardinals fall to 2-10. They're in the fight for the number one overall pick. Rams 5-6. Don't look now. The Rams aren't far of the playoff race, just a game or a half game behind Minnesota, who's on bye this coming week. Next up, the Broncos win their 5th game in a row, the hottest team in football.
Vance Joseph has had redemption, ladies and
Oh,
gentlemen.
yeah. It seems like Sean Payton and the rest of this coaching staff have finally gotten in the heads of their players, and the players are finally showing up. Broncos win 29-12 over the Cleveland Browns. Of course, Dorian Thompson-Robinson was the starter for this game before he got his soul put to the moon on a hit that brought in PJ Walker. And that's not a good place to be. Joe Flacco should be the starter going forward, but the Browns self-imploded in the second half of this game, but the Broncos have been winning. Their defense has looked much better since early season problems, and the Broncos, 6-5, played the Houston Texans in what is a massive game for playoff positioning right now.
Up for this game, Russell Wilson might have not lit up the stat sheet, but he beat up a physically tough defense that Browns ain't easy to get by. And yeah, the down quality of targets for Amari Cooper just continues to decline. Thusly, doth his fantasy points follow.
Yeah. Next up, the Raiders led this next game 14-0. Then the Chiefs outscored them 31-3 from there. So the Chiefs win over the Raiders 31-17. The Chiefs moved to 8-3. They remained in that top end log jam in record at 8-3 at the top of the AFC. The Raiders, after the dead cat bounce of getting rid of Josh McDaniels, have now lost 2 in a row after winning 2 in a row. And I will say this, the Raiders still look like a much better team without him, but the results are not following as they were the first couple of weeks. The Chiefs offense looked as good as it has all season long, but it was against the Raiders.
Yeah, the up for this game, definitely. Rashee Rice has scored a whopping 24.7 points. Of course, keep in mind that was with Tony, Hardman, and McKinnon out of the lineup again against the Raiders. He led the team with a 31% target share and saw a season-high 71% route participation. But keep in mind, once the wide receiver core gets healthy again, Rice's role will be reduced.
I think Rashee Rice is the only receiver on that team that's even worth considering, though. Even with all the injuries, he's the best receiver behind Travis Kelce on that team. Next up, game of the week.
I do have 2 downs for this game.
Oh, 2 downs. Oh,
two downs. Tony, so much talent was getting in the way of him becoming a good player. Too banged up, ego, something else. And, oh yeah, this is a personal bugaboo of mine. Sky Moore's pre-season hype. Do we remember flying? All of the hype for this whiteout. Swinging and miss hypesters. Moore has had 1 good week, and that was week 2.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of hope that it would be Sky Moore or Rashee Rice really taking control of this wide receiver core, and really hasn't happened with anybody yet. Rashee Rice is starting to now, but it's already week 12. Next up, game of the day as the Eagles come from way behind to beat the Bills 37-34 on the back of a lot of questionable calls by the refs and Gabe Davis not knowing how to run route in overtime. Josh Allen falls to 0-6 in overtime, 0-5 since they changed the rules so both teams get the ball. And yeah, the Bills fall to 6-6 and are in 10th place in the AFC. The Eagles, with this win, move to 10-1, are the clear number 1 team in the NFL based on record. But I challenge the Eagles that they haven't looked dominant in any games because they've had to come back quite a bit. But this one was a complete performance in the second half as the Eagles get it done. Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, 2 of the biggest fantasy studs of the week. Eagles 10-1, looking like a lock for a playoff appearance and number 1 overall seed and possibly deep run. The Bills, though, it's getting late early for the Bills. And with tough matchups against Kansas City, Dallas coming out of the bye, and then a week 18 showdown with Miami, the playoffs are sure in doubt.
And the 2 ups from this game, definitely Stephon Diggs. Nice to see you again. 11 targets, 6 receptions, 74 yards, and cherry on the top, with a TD. Gabe Davis also had a decent day, but you literally never know with this guy from week to week. The down, yeah, Kenneth Gainwell on the field for just over 1/3 of the offensive snaps. Gainwell carried twice and was targeted on 3 of his 15 routes, but was mostly an afterthought on this offense on this day and in your fantasy lineup.
Yeah, next up, we're going to talk about a boring game that I thought would be one of the worst I had to watch this weekend, but then Monday night showed up.
Yeah,
Ravens 20 to 10.
Monday night was like hold my beer.
Yeah, Ravens 2010 win over the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert, not getting it done. He's just not putting his team in position to win. Brandon Staley should have been fired about 4 or 5 losses ago. He still somehow has a job. Zay Flowers was the best player for the Ravens this week with 2 touchdowns, but all in all, it was a defensive battle. No great offensive weapons really shined in this game. The Ravens get to 9-3. They are the 1 seed by a half game going into their bye week. All the teams at 8-3 have a shot. The Jaguars, the Dolphins, and the Chiefs have a chance to tie them coming out of the bye week, but they go in at 9-3, and that's at least all they could hope for right now.
Yeah, up for this game, already mentioned him. Zay Flowers, breakout performance from the rookie receiver, who looks like he could be a Deebo Samuel type player who can make plays wherever he is utilized. The down. Austin Eckler's production is down as he is after averaging 22.7 points from week 8 to week 10. Eckler has hit a lull with 9 and 10 points in his last 2 outings. However, his utilization hasn't changed. Eckler remains locked in a near every down role over the season's final 5 weeks. Eckler has one of the best schedules with 2 matchups against the Broncos, plus games against the Raiders and the Bills. So you're in a league where a trade deadline hasn't passed. Might want to see if you can make an offer if you're sort of getting frustrated with the former fantasy stud, Austin Eckler.
Well, you say that schedule. I see 2 against the Denver Broncos, 1 against Buffalo. Remember, DeAndre Swift didn't get anything going for the Eagles. Might be a good time to sell. The Broncos defense has been much better since they've gotten blown out by Miami by quite a bit. Remember, they gave up almost 250 rushing yards and 70 points in that game. That skews the statistics. If you're looking season long, the Broncos defense now is much better than their rankings are showing. Keep that in mind when you make some decisions going forward. Man, last we go to the worst game I can remember seeing in a very long time.
Boy.
The Bears win 12-10 without scoring a touchdown, move to 4-8. The Vikings 6-6 going into their bye week. Justin Jefferson will be back after the bye, and Kevin O'Connell is going to determine who's the starting quarterback in week number 14 during the bye. The Vikings just decided not to run the ball in this game, and that was a mistake because Alexander Mattison doing pretty good when he got the opportunity. The Bears looked horrible outside of DJ Moore. DJ Moore looks like a great player still. And the Bears, 4-8. Technically speaking, they're not dead in the playoff race, but they are 2 games behind Minnesota at 6-6. And with Carolina having the number 1 overall pick, that's going to the Chicago Bears in a good place to have a high pick, have a mid-early first-round pick, and still have a chance to make a run at a 7 seed if they get hot at the right time.
Yeah, I have 3 ups and 2 downs for this game. Ups are T.J. Hawkinson, of course, with the only touchdown of the game.
Salvaged a very bad night by doing that and cost me 2 wins.
DJ Moore, of course, no TDs, but still 22 fantasy points is a good night in a fugly, ugly game. And final up is anyone who bet the under. Downs for this game, if you actually had to watch the entire wholehearted game. And Josh Hobbs, the rocket scientist, had a down game. Yikes. Says, bad day for Minnesota as a sports town. You had a rough loss on Monday Night Football, and your hockey coach got canned.
Yeah. That was week number 12. The bipocalypse is upon us. Joel continues his losing streak in the 16-team league where he was 6-0, is now 6-6. I don't know what happened there. The big board behind me is updated. Joel has an 11-game lead in the picks, but I do have a bunch of blue check marks. That means teams that have already clinched a playoff spot. There are a few more that are about to be eliminated, but This one up top, this 5-7 that's been near last place, has a clear path to the playoffs if it wins out, which is wrong.
Both of my Yahoo teams won, so they're actually back in playoff contention for at least this week.
Yeah, I think I'll make the playoffs in about 9 or 10 of the 14. It's not going to be a great season, but good enough. I mean, the percentages there, and a lot of these are high top 3 type of teams, or they're in good shape. They're not bad teams at all. Anyways, let's go to the Thursday night picks. Seattle, Dallas. Dallas has been dominant at home, scoring over 40 in every game and just blowing teams out. Seattle Seahawks coming off a rough loss against the 49ers in division. This hopefully will be a good game, but Dallas is favored by just under 10 points. For Seattle, I don't think you can bench DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and Zach Charbonnet should be the number 1 running back and get most of the work, but it's a tough defensive matchup. For Dallas, you're playing Dak Prescott, you're playing CeeDee Lamb, you're probably playing Tony Pollard, and you might want to take the flyer on Ferguson as well. And then deep shots for Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup could pay off if you're desperate. Dallas, 8-3, but has not beaten a team with a winning record yet this year. Technically, if they win this game, they still wouldn't have because the Seattle Seahawks will fall to 6-6 as a result. The Dolphins have officially beaten a team with a winning record because Denver now being 6-5, by the way. But Dallas still has yet to do that. So something to prove for Dallas. Seattle, though, has to stop the Skids to try and stay in this playoff race. They have a very tough schedule coming up. It's possible they fall completely out of it. A team like Green Bay, a team like the Rams, a team like Chicago can find a way to sneak back in. So, Joel, who gets this big win?
Yeah, this one just seems very cut and dry to me as Dallas is unbeaten at home, 5-0 record, 4-1 last 5 games. And Seattle, 2-3 last 5 games, and their away record isn't exactly that inspiring at 2-3. There's probably a reason why Dallas is $5.50 favorites with an over and under of 47.5. So that's at least hopeful for fantasy purposes. But yeah, until they prove me wrong, since these aren't the 22 Seattle Seahawks, these are the 23 Seattle Seahawks. If these were the 22 Seattle Seahawks, I might be inclined to pick them, but got to go with the home team. Got to go with them boys.
Yeah, I got to take Dallas as well. Dallas has a pretty tough stretch coming up with games against Philadelphia, Detroit, Buffalo, and Miami, not in that order, the next 4. So they got to get a win here. Yeah, they got to get a win here. They got to find a way to beat the Eagles and to try and maintain hope in that race. So they can't afford to lose a game to a team like Seattle. And I don't think they do. Quickly, before final thoughts, they look at the playoff picture. As kind of mentioned during our breakdowns, in the AFC, the Baltimore Ravens at 9-3 are first place in the AFC. Second place, third place, and fourth place, all at 8-3 in the order Kansas City, Jacksonville, and Miami. If all 3 win a 4-way tie, I believe the Kansas City Chiefs would take back first, with the Ravens on bye, very possible. The 5 seed is the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that has not outgained their opponents for, it seemed like, an eternity until last week. No 400-yard games until last week. The 5 seed. The Browns, 7-4, but you got to think that's a very tenuous position, a tough schedule the rest of the way, and a backup quarterback for sure the rest of the way. At 7, the Indianapolis Colts, who did just lose Jonathan Taylor. So a big clump between 6 and let's call it 10, 11. That are there's some strengths and weaknesses. At 8 and 9, Houston Texans and Denver Broncos, 6-5. They play each other next week. That is a big, big game for tiebreakers. It's very possible to come to that down the line. And the 10th, Buffalo Bills at 6-6, 11. The Bengals at 5-6, Raiders in 12th at 4-7. Chargers, Titans, Jets in that order, all at 4-7. And away at the bottom, 16th place, the New England Patriots at 2-9. In the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles, first place by 2 games at 10-1. The Niners in second at 8-3. The Lions 8-3 in third. In fourth, your Atlanta Falcons at 5-6. Cowboys at 5. I think that might be the best place to finish as the number 5 seed in the NFC because you're going to play Atlanta. Yeah, you got to go on the road, but it's not. You're going to play Atlanta, New Orleans, or Tampa Bay, and I think I'd rather do that than playing the 6 or 7 seed, which right now Seattle at 6-5 and the Vikings at 6-6. Even teams on the bubble like Green Bay And the Rams, I think, show more fight than that NFC North winner. Packers at 8, Rams at 9, both teams 5 and 6. Saints at 10, also at 5 and 6. At 11th, really more in it for the NFC South. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 4 and 7. Giants at 11, Giants at 12, Bears at 13, Commanders at 14, all 4 and 8. The Cardinals 2 and 10, they are 15th, and last place in the NFC and the whole league, currently holding the first overall pick for the Chicago Bears. The Carolina Panthers are 1 and 10. And with that quick update, Joel, final thoughts.
I actually have a 1A and 1B final.
All right.
All right. 1A would definitely be ads I'm tired of hearing in 2023. This one comes, of course, anytime you have to listen to Westwood One, Shopify, channeling The Rock, and I promise I won't finish the entire thing. I want to take that bell, shine it up real nicely, turn it sideways, and as I said, I won't continue the rest of The Rock's routine, but one of the most annoying commercials.
The end of the routine is to put inside the exit, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Number 2, Prize Pick and Stat Hero are the new DraftKings and FanDuel REITs. Then, of course, the singing iPhone trade-in commercial heard everywhere. Please make it stop. Thank you. Yes, we all don't want iPhones. And my final one, it's this one specific to Fantasy Sports Channel on Sirius. You hear every once in a while, who is the new Torrey Holt? Listen and find out. Okay, so who is the new Torrey Holt? Please let us know. So, and my I'm sure you have yours. My final thought 1B. Do you remember the Tyreek Hill when he grabbed the cell phone of the cameraman on the end zone, did the flip thing and all that? Guess what? Apparently the NFL has suspended that cameraman.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Why? And those are my final thoughts.
Well, as far as asking the NFL why, I've got a question. Why do we have so many buys week number 13? Why do we have buys going into week number 14? I understand week 12 is Thanksgiving week, and with 4 games not on the traditional Sunday, Monday slate, I get it. You want to have every team play. The answer here is very simple. Have 4 teams on bye. Do the entire division if you want. I don't care. Week 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Keep week 12 full. And then 4 teams on bye week number 13. Have 4 teams a week on bye, 8 weeks a year. Do it for your fans. Do it for your fantasy players, which, for lack of a better term, is a lot of your fan base, by the way, who is fantasy players at this point. And honestly, having 6 teams on bye just diminishes your pool of talent on Sunday to pull games from. 4 teams, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, keep week 12 full, and then week 13 be done with the buys. No week 14s, no bye-apocalypses anymore. Just even it out. And again, if you just want to say, okay, the AFC East has the week 5 bye this year, and do that on a rotating schedule. So some divisions get it early, and the next year they get it late. It's very fair. It's very doable. AWS crafts the perfect schedule, which when you hear that damn commercial on TV, you go, well, then why do we have all these garbage primetime games this year? And I understand when guys like Aaron Rodgers and Joe Burrow go out, that kind of messes with your algorithm and your planning a little bit because, of course, Monday night being Bengals Jaguars could have been Lawrence versus Burrow, but no, it's going to be Lawrence versus Browning.
So what are some of the other ads that tend to drive you absolutely nuts? I know you're of your all-time one, but what are some of the more recent ones?
I don't watch enough TV anymore to get ads, and when they're on, I just kind of ignore them. I will say this. I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube because of disc golf and fantasy and some of the other interests that are a little more niche. I watch a lot of YouTube, and when I get a commercial that's in Spanish or the commercials that are unskippable but 3 minutes long
especially when you're watching a 2-minute clip.
Yeah, I want to watch Tom Grossi's If the NFL Was Scripted video, which is usually 4 to 6 minutes long. And I've got to sit through 4 minutes of ads. No, sorry, I'm going to back out, go back in, and hope I get something that's a skip in 5 seconds. But yeah, NFL, just even out your bye weeks and don't claim your schedule so, great, and AWS can do all this stuff for you. And then we get these turds in prime time that you have to switch out Monday Night Football games. Anywho, that's our time. We'll be back in the next couple of days. I have a disc golf tournament each of the next 3 weekends, so timing is probably not going to be too affected, but I have some non-football stuff to possibly talk about, and hopefully we'll have some trophies to show off, but only time will tell. With that, I'm Flying Ryan Rungo, Chris, along with
Tampa Motor Mouth, Joel Verlin.
And yeah, week 13, playoff pushes are on for fantasy. Yeah, just enjoy it. It's going to be gone very, very soon. And make your plans for those playoff rosters now. You know who you need to back up your studs. With that, we going.